I didn't know going in that there are social workers, there are home health nurses, there are support groups, and your team is going to put you in contact with all of those people because they actually care about how you live your life afterwards and that you're able to be happy and able to re-find yourself.
Hi, this is Patrick.
And this is Laura.
And you're listening to This is Cancer.
Brought to you by Siteman Cancer Center at Barnes Jewish Hospital and Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis. National leaders in cancer.
Season 2. Laura, we did it. We're back in the booth.
I'm so excited that we're back. I'm so excited that we get to meet more of these amazing people who are willing to come on and get very, very personal and real about what it's like to go through cancer. And we decided to start off season 2 with 2 episodes on the day that we're launching because what we're talking about is so important and we couldn't do it in just one episode. We're talking about the trauma that women go through when they are diagnosed with breast cancer, whether it's a lumpectomy, double mastectomies, a mastectomy, losing their hair with chemo, you name it. It's traumatic.
It's something that obviously as a man I can't fully understand, but that I'm definitely sensitive to. I know it's a topic that is incredibly important to you. And we found some amazing guests to share their story with us. So we have Melanie and Tamara. Both of them were diagnosed at 45.
And since it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, this was the perfect time to help tell these stories. So without any further ado, here is our first episode of season 2. Make sure you listen to all of it and stay tuned for part 2 because it's just as impactful. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. This is Melanie and Tamara, and they are both breast cancer survivors.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Very happy to be here.
Melanie and Tamara, as I told you when we were setting up for the record, I have 7 women, one including my sister, who I love dearly, who have all had to go through double mastectomies. So I am so grateful to have the opportunity to just be honest about what this process is like. And I've been one of those guilty women that have said before, well, you'll just have to get surgery and you'll be all fine. Right?
Yeah, you never go back.
You never go back. Yeah. So I'd first love for each of you to tell our listeners how old you were when you were diagnosed and what treatment process you had to go through in order to be cancer-free.
Okay, this is Melanie, and I was 45 years old when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I went through chemo, radiation, I had surgery, and then reconstructive surgery.
And you had reconstructive surgery on your right breast, correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
This is Tamara, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer at 45. I did a double mastectomy and reconstruction after that, so no chemo. I'm grateful for that out of this.
Melanie, can you share a little bit about what that was like for you?
I was really afraid going into it, knowing that I had to get chemo, but I knew it had to be done. It's unexplainable, what you really go through. It's a horrible feeling. You're tired all the time, and you don't want to eat, but you do feel better when you do eat. But I only had 8 sessions of chemo.
You only had 8 sessions of chemo. My goodness. Even 8 is a lot. I had 4, and I act like I, served in a war. 8 is a lot.
It is. I actually saw my mom go through it, and I think that helped me. She went through breast cancer, and I saw her go through chemo and radiation and surgery, and she never complained. And when I was going through, I was telling Lori, I was saying, I can't believe that my mom went through this. She never expressed any type of concern or worrying or anything. I just couldn't believe she went through it because it's really, really hard to get through. It really is.
It is.
It's unexplainable.
Can you each share, and Tamara, I'll start with you, when you knew you had breast cancer and that you were going to have surgery, what were some of the first things you were the most worried about?
Well, I guess when I first got the diagnosis, I didn't know if I'd have to do chemo. I didn't know if I had to do radiation. My mom had gone through pretty late stage breast cancer, and I had been her caregiver, together with my sister, taking care of her in shifts, basically, through her process. And she was stage 3B, just to put it in perspective. So it really was a year and a half of chemo and radiation. It was horrific. And that was what I had in the front of my mind when I got that diagnosis. And then, okay, so you caught it early. Great. What does that mean? And I had all these misconceptions about a mastectomy and about reconstruction. I thought, hey, they'd feel like they did before. No, they don't. Hey, it'll hurt. Well, not really. I mean, there were so many things I just didn't know. And I didn't want to burden my mom by asking her, and she'd had a very different experience. So just all of those things running through your head, just what does this mean? And then the fear that's actually real, the fear that like you hold on to afterwards is, okay, I've been through this. When's it coming back?
Yep.
And that's the one that's the beast to live with.
Yeah. Yeah. Melanie, how about you?
I agree about the part saying, you don't know what to expect, what it's going to feel like. They're going to feel the same. It doesn't feel the same at all, and it's not painful. It's just uncomfortable, and it's like a pressure that you've never had before, and it's really something to get used to it. It's been 7 years for me, and I'm still not used to it, I'm very appreciative and happy for what they can do to make you look as normal as they can. I appreciate that, but you don't feel the same,
No, so true.
And one thing I want to mention that I think is important, and you'll hear one of our physicians speak about this later in the episode, is that every woman's breast cancer diagnosis and treatment is different. You are both perfect examples of this because you were both diagnosed at the age of 45. Mm-hmm. What are the chances that both of your mothers had it as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Right? But then, Melanie, you had one breast, you had a mastectomy, and Tamara, you had a double mastectomy.
Yes.
So can you walk us through just a little bit about why you came to that decision with your physician?
Okay, I'll tell a funny story about that. I went in to see Dr. Morgan Taylor. That was my physician at Siteman. Isn't she wonderful?
Awesome.
Dr. Morgan Taylor saw me really quickly. And I walked into her office and she said, well, what do you expect? What do you anticipate is going to happen from this? And I said, well, I don't know what to expect, but I want you to kill it with fire. And she goes, I'm not sure what killing it with fire is. I said, I want to do whatever it takes to give me the best chance of never seeing this again. Because just like you, ma'am, I'm pretty sure when this happens as young as it did, there's that very real fear that you're going to be dealing with this again and again and again and again in your life. And it's like, no. So that was when we kind of talked through the options and decided that, we were going to do the double mastectomy, one side prophylactically, to give me the best chance of not having to deal with it again. I could have done a lumpectomy and chemo and worked with that. But again, I'd watched my mom go through that process, and I wanted the best possible chance. And she said, well, with the kind of cancer you've got, a mastectomy is your best possible chance. And then when we talked through more, it really came down to taking the left side as well. Just everything we could to be sure that we had a good chance here.
Gotcha. Melanie, how about you?
When I went in to see Dr. Morgan Taylor, she just automatically suggested and recommended for me to get the mastectomy. And I had watched my mom. She didn't get a reconstructive surgery at all because she was older. She wasn't married anymore. And I'm married, and I wanted to feel my womanhood because you feel like they're taking that away. And so I wanted to feel as much as a woman as possible. And so as soon as she recommended it, the mastectomy or whatever, I said, okay.
Let's say 40, 50 years ago, it was very common to just go get the bra.
I was getting ready to say
that you had.
Bra.
Because a lot of women back in the day did not do reconstruction. And it wasn't as advanced as it is now.
No, it didn't look anything like what it did now. It's funny, I'd never known that my grandmother had breast cancer. She never talked about it, until one day I saw her sewing and she was sticking pins in her boobs.
She couldn't feel it.
Well, no, she had
the bra.
The bra with the falsies.
pads.
Yes. And I was like, I was a small child. I was freaked out. No, Tamara, it's all right. They're not real. Like, okay, Grandma, gotcha.
But you knew when you were older that you had a pretty big risk of breast cancer, having a grandmother and a mother both had it.
Yeah.
When you found it, were you proactively screening?
Yes. Yeah, I started proactively screening at 35. And so because of my family history, insurance and everything, approved getting them done much quicker.
So, side note, your family history and your screening for breast cancer is life-saving, ladies. Please don't forget, if you have not scheduled your mammogram this year, please schedule it. Amen to that?
Yes, amen.
So I want to piggyback, Melanie, off what you just said about your womanhood. Mm-hmm. That is something that I have learned so much about with all the people that I love going through this. When we're young women, all we do is we can't wait until we develop to see what kind, are we going to have big boobs, little boobs? We talk about all our friends about it, right? When we're about to go through puberty. And then we dress for our breasts, and then some of us nourish our children with those breasts. And then we continue to dress for that. So I think it was really important that you mentioned that your womanhood. And can you each speak a little bit about, half of my friends said, I feel so vain saying this, but I really love my breasts and I don't want to have to get rid of them. I don't know if you felt that same way, but can you empathize with what they were saying?
Yeah, when you were talking about that, I was thinking about growing up putting tissue, in my shirt, thinking about getting breast growing up or whatever. But yes, it's like it's taking a part of your womanhood away. But my family my husband was very encouraging, really, really helps because you have to look in the mirror at yourself and you just don't look the same, so you're not feeling the same. So that supportive system really, really helped me stay positive.
Tamara, how about you?
Same, really. I mean, when you go in, and I imagine you had a very similar situation and experience, they give you this wonderful survey, like, how do you see your breasts? Is it about how your clothes hang? Is it about how and I'm like, I've never thought about this, like consciously sat down and thought about, well, I rather like that they're perky.
Right.
Let them please be perky. Oh, wait, they point outwards. That's a little awkward. But, it would be really, as women, we're aware of all of this and we think, but we don't sit down and think about it every day. And there you are sitting in the plastic surgeon's office thinking, well, are they going to go up or down?
Right. Which way are my nipples point now?
Yes.
Will I have nipples?
Will I have nipples? Will they feel the same? Here's a thing that, I didn't know going in. I didn't know that you lose all of your nerves in them. All of your nerves. Mm-hmm. You have no feeling. So, I mean, in a very real way, you've just lost an enormous erogenous zone. Thank you very much. That sucks.
Right.
But your clothes still look good. So it's understanding yourself as a woman in a very blunt way that you don't think about all the time.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to process that.
And nobody wants to sound like they're not grateful for life-saving tools to help them get rid of the cancer, but you still have to give permission to yourself to say, my nipples aren't going to make it more fun to have sex with my husband or my partner.
Exactly.
Or, my boobs looked really good when I wore this dress and now this rippling might show. Or your breasts won't have a cleavage the way they used to. All those things that my sister and I would talk about this a lot because she had great boobs before she got her surgery. She still has good ones, but they were good. They were like her signature piece. And she just was so sad about having to get rid of them. Even though it was she was grateful that there was an option.
Yeah.
Of course.
But
no, like I said, I mentioned it to you earlier. I let myself cry 3 times during the process. And one of them was the night before the surgery. I was like, this is the silliest thing. I was petting my boobs, telling them goodbye and letting them know that I loved them. And you did me good, sisters. You took care of me. I love you. Thank you for what you gave me. And now you must go.
One of the other many conversations I've had with my friends and my sister is what to decide to put back in your breasts. That's also a big decision of how you're going to fill the void. And for everyone, it's different about what has been put back to replace that tissue. So can you share a little bit what each of you went through and the decisions you made with that?
Dr. McCatton helped me with that decision as far as what he thought was best for me to put back into my breast for everything to come back together. But is it okay if I piggyback on something that you just
Absolutely.
said before when you was talking about you may have a nipple, you may not have a nipple, and I struggled with that because I wasn't able to get a nipple with the reconstruction surgery that I had, and I had to go to body imaging counseling for that, and it's just really all about, how you feel about yourself and how you look at yourself, because I was telling my counselor at the time that I just didn't like looking in the mirror at myself. And he said, Melanie, you're beautiful. And you should say that to yourself when you look in the mirror. And I said, I'm seeing myself and I'm saying that, but I don't see that, because of what I saw before. It was gone. And, I struggled with not having a nipple as far as intimacy. And I never had that problem with my husband. Even afterwards, he would say, it's no big deal. It's no problem. So it's really important for you to just know within yourself, how you really feel and express how you really feel and be comfortable, with how you're looking with yourself is very important. The body imaging counseling really helped me.
That's amazing. I didn't even know they had that.
Mm-hmm. I didn't either.
And so what about decisions that you had to make, Tamara?
I had Marissa Tenenbaum. She was my plastic surgeon, and she and Dr. Morgan Taylor worked together quite a bit. So it was great. I actually saw her the same day that I saw Dr. Morgan Taylor for the Kill It With Fire conversation.
Yes.
And so I went across town to Dr. Tenenbaum's office, and there was that questionnaire of, how do you see your boobs? And then, we sat down, and it was great because she actually pulled out the implants. And at that point, we didn't know if I would get to keep my nipples or not. That all depended on how I responded to the surgery and all kinds of other stuff. In the end, I was able to keep them. But so she pulled out the different kinds of implants, and I got to play with them. I know that sounds really weird, but it was good to have something concrete, like, okay, this is what I will feel like. This is how it moves. This is how it hangs. It made it more concrete, because until then, my impression of implants was, I guess, mentally like a Ziploc baggie filled with water. It was not any kind of understanding of what's available or how much things have changed or how much safer they are.
Yeah.
So, I went ahead and in my case, I did silicone implants rather than saline implants because I liked the softer feel.
Me too.
That you too? Yeah. It was a much better feel, and the hang was better. Mm-hmm. You could hold them up. Okay, they hang about like boobs should.
They do.
Which I appreciated so much, that they took the time to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My sister got an extra implant that she got to keep. And so whenever she hears of friends that have it, she says, I'll bring you over my implant so you can feel it.
Yes.
Because we had so many conversations. And Alita, who was in season 1, also here at Spot, about what to fill her breast with. And she called my sister to say, I don't know what to do. There's a positive and a negative to each.
Yeah, there's the smooth ones. And when we went through our treatment, they still had textured ones. They don't have them anymore. But so there was smooth versus textured, saline versus silicone, different kinds of silicone. I went for the jelly bellies. Oh. But okay, who knew?
I didn't know.
Why would you?
I didn't know. That's why I was glad my doctor just recommended this. You can feel it, you can touch it, but this is what I recommend. So yeah, I didn't know.
May I ask, did he look and say, okay, you're keeping one breast, let's try and match the contours?
Of course.
So he had a really good way to say, okay, we're going to try and give you symmetry.
As close as he could, yes.
That's beautiful.
It is.
That is beautiful.
Melanie, can you talk a little bit for those people that are listening that are still making this decision process or loving someone through it, what the fat grafting procedure was with your surgery?
Fat grafting is fat tissues taken from my stomach, from my side, and also from my back.
And they take that fat and they put it to make breast tissue.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
And so some people I've had that done thought it was incredibly painful. But you had a different experience.
No, I wasn't in any pain at all. I wasn't uncomfortable with it. No rejection from it or no infections or anything from it. I didn't have any problems, no issues at all.
And I mention that because everybody has a different journey, a different pain tolerance, a different reason that it might be painful. So you might listen to one person talk about their breast cancer experience and the surgery they had and their nipples, but it is a different thing for every woman for so many reasons. Mm-hmm. There's so many different types of cancers. Breast tissue is different. History is different. I mean, there's just so much that makes each woman's journey different. But Melanie, you then had to have something fixed after you had that fat graft.
I did. I went through, I actually was feeling so good, I didn't rest properly like I was supposed to rest and sit down and no lifting. And because I didn't have any pain or I didn't have any complications, I was up moving around more than I should have. And my the breast became very hard rock, as what you was talking about, really bad.
Yeah.
And so Dr. McCatton had to go in and do some revisions to that.
Yeah. And so that's important. Tell people what to expect after surgery of what you can and cannot do with your arms, because that's key.
Oh my
You
God.
cannot lift your arms. You should not lift your arms, your hands above your head. No lifting, milk, nothing. Just sit down and rest. Keep your feet up. I would suggest that you make sure you have like your meals prepped or your house clean already. Things I would get taken care of before the surgery, so you can just rest and be comfortable.
And how long does that arms down rule last?
It differs for each patient, I think, doesn't it? I mean, for me, it was until I got my drains out. I had my flippin' drains for 4 weeks.
So help prepare women for that process, because there's pajamas you need to be getting. You need to be getting button-down pajamas with pockets. Ladies, has to have buttons or a zipper in the middle and pockets on each side.
And about 2 sizes larger than they would normally wear.
Yes.
I agree. And because you can't lift your hands over your head, you don't want to put anything over your head anyway. So like you said, something buttoned down or zip, very, very loose. And you do need help because you're sore, you feel pressure. And as you was talking about the pads, it's compression, within you where you can't really just freely move. And you shouldn't, because of the surgery. But they really want to make sure that you're really, still.
Your body's done producing all this horrible
Yes.
fluid from a giant surgery. It means your body's healing. Did you ladies, I'm curious, did you ever think, this is fascinating that modern medicine can do this? Did you ever stop and think about that when you're going through it, or were you just so in it thinking, this is just rough and I don't care?
Well, there are definitely times when you're like, this is rough and I really don't care. Why are you torturing me like this? But for me, it wasn't the blood grenades that really made me go, holy crud, this is amazing. It was when I went in the very first time to have my expanders expanded. Because I was like, how do you do anything with these deflated pieces of plastic that are crinkling in my chest? And they come out and they've got this little magnetic thing that they clip dink onto it that tells them exactly where the port is on this so that they can safely inflate them by a certain amount. That was how how? How did they come up with this?
I do want to know who invented the expanders that feel like, because I've felt my fair share of mastectomy breasts, because my friends would be like, feel this.
Oh yeah.
It feels like a flat plateau. It feels like when I felt it felt from the outside. Like if you put if you go get a sandwich in a to-go box and it's in a square sandwich, that was shoved inside your breast, because it feels flat on the top. Mm-hmm. Did you guys feel that?
I didn't have that experience.
Oh, because you had the fat graft.
Yes.
You didn't have the expanders.
No, that's why I was like, I didn't know.
No, they do. They feel like the top of a plastic container. They sound like the top of a plastic container for the first couple weeks while they're slowly being inflated. And then they just look kind of sad and crinkly. But like you're
and they're hard.
Your chest. Yes, they are hard.
Yes, it's bizarre. Melanie, you mentioned that you were not listening to your doctor, you bad girl, because you were doing so well, and you had to get your breast fixed because of that. Tamara, you just found something out this morning.
I had been having some breast changes, and one of the things to really be aware of after you've had reconstruction, so it's been 5 years, right, is that changes are so gradual you might not notice them in a timely fashion. So June of this year, I'd finally noticed that something was a little odd, and went in and talked to my gynecologist, and they took a look. They did an ultrasound, they did an MRI, and what I had was fluid coming up around my implant, and I have what's called contracture. So what that means is that the scar tissue that forms naturally around the implant has gotten too thick and is squeezing it. So if you take like a water balloon and then you squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze it, and it gets harder and harder and harder and more round, that's what's going on. And so this morning I found out that I will be having surgery in less than 2 weeks to have that contracture revisited, which is apparently what they call it when they go in and they take everything out and they put everything back in again.
Wow.
So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
So you're going to have to go through the whole process again of Are you going to have to do the blood grenades as well? And
She warned me to be prepared for drains just in case. And I was like, you know what? I appreciate the honesty more than anything else. If I don't have my drains, I will be thanking God every day. If I do have them, I'm at least ready for it.
that point you just said about you may or may not have to get them, Tamara, is also something that women need to understand, that many of them will go into surgery not knowing how they're going to come out of surgery.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It wasn't until the day of surgery that I found out I might get to keep my nipples. Like, back to our earlier conversation. And I found out after the surgery, yay, you got to keep them. Like, some things they have to get in there and like see what they're dealing with before they can make decisions. And depending on how advanced your disease is, that can get really, you can have surprises.
Yeah. For some women, you can't save any of that skin because of the type of breast cancer. Was there anything told to you, Melanie, about what may or may not be when you come out of surgery?
That I may not have a nipple, but they don't know, like you said, until they actually go in. And sometimes they're surprised by some things, and sometimes, they're not. Like, you're able to keep your nipples, but, I know that they're doing their best. Of course, I would rather have a nipple, but, I would rather be here too. So
they have to do what's best for your future. So I have found that everyone I know has trusted completely in the process to treat the cancer, the oncologist, the surgeon. But the one they're most concerned about is, can I find the right plastic surgeon? Am I going to get along with him or her? Are they going to hear me? And what am I going to look like? So what were the things that you, from your experience, could share with other women about what you think would benefit them to ask, or what you think would benefit them to know going into that meeting, or however meetings they have with a plastic surgeon?
Well, going in with what I was dealing with, they came together as a team. My oncologist, the cancer surgeon, Dr. Morgan Taylor, and then the plastic surgeon. So they were a team. They were there together. As soon as I saw one doctor, I immediately had an appointment with the next doctor. And they worked together. They wrote notes to one another through my notes, what they were doing. And mine was set up that way. And I trusted them. I trusted them. Dr. McCatton, the plastic surgeon, I was able to see work that he had done before, which really helped, And it was like I just didn't have a choice. I really trusted him.
You trusted?
Very much the same thing. I felt so lucky that both of my doctors knew each other and had performed surgeries before. So like when I went in, I knew that there would be one of them standing on one side of the table and the other one standing on the other side of the table.
What were the conversations given to you both about what you could expect as far as surgeries?
I've had 4. I've been back 4 times, but it's only in how pleased you are and how you look, or if you want to make more changes, if possible. And your plastic surgeon will let you know if you can get some of this or some of that or whatever changes you think you may want. But it's all in how you look. When you look at yourself.
I'm curious if you ladies found it encouraging that beyond the initial surgeries of let's resect the cancer, let's diagnose a treatment plan. Did you find it encouraging that there was still conversation, though, of now what do we need to do beyond that to make sure that you are satisfied with where you are?
One of the things I didn't expect going in was that I would be seeing that plastic surgeon again. I didn't understand going in that there, at least with a good healthcare team, there's a lot of focus on your mental well-being. Cancer treatment is first, let's make sure your body doesn't die. Hey, yay, that's good. I really want that. But I didn't know going in that there are social workers, there are home health nurses, there are support groups, and your team is going to put you in contact with all of those people because they actually care about how you live your life afterwards, and that you're able to be happy and able to kind of re-find yourself as a survivor, because you'll never go back to being a pre-cancer patient, but you can be a survivor and not a victim. And that was big for me. That was a shock. I didn't expect it going in at all.
The mental toll?
Yeah, I didn't. And I didn't expect that the healthcare team knew about that and cared about it and were like on it. They were very much, you need to have you talked with someone? Have you contacted a support group? Have you, they followed up with all that. And thank goodness they did.
For people that are going through this, I have watched people I love and the mental toll it's taken on them. And it's so important to address it.
more than that, more than just losing a body part, your safety's gone. Your body betrayed you. Your body tried to kill you. And when you sit down at night and you're thinking about that, you're like, holy crud, my body actually tried to kill me. That's
Big.
a pretty intense betrayal. And you have to kind of come back into balance with yourself over that.
Yeah.
And it's not like you get to that place of balance and stay there. You kind of, it's been 5 years and I still kind of sometimes need to go back and recenter and refind it.
And how about relationships and how they changed or were affected during this process with a loved one or anything like that? Trying to explain what you're going through to someone that can't possibly understand.
Is unexplainable. I don't think you won't understand it until you go with it. Just like if someone going through grief and death, until you experience you losing your mother, you don't know what that's like. For me to say, oh, you lost your mom, I'm sorry, no, because I haven't gone through it. So you really can't explain it to someone. You can just give them the symptoms and how you felt at that time and let them know, if it was a burden and the hardship you went through, but you really just can't explain it to anyone.
Yeah.
I want to encourage anyone who hears this. If you have a friend who's going through this and you don't know what to say, not saying anything is the single worst thing you can do. If you don't know what to say, send them a text and say, I don't know what to say. This sucks. That's cool. They will hear that you care.
Because I do think it's isolating enough. And I think that having someone to talk to and being able to relate to, or that just wants to say to you as a cancer patient, I'm here and just going to sit with you. And there's nothing I can do to make this better.
Mm-hmm. That helps.
It's a club nobody wants to be in. And once you're in it, you
true.
just want to do whatever the hell you can do to make it easier on the next person that's going through it, because
Yes.
it's not fun. And I think one thing that we can kind of hold on to is that at least it gets a little bit better with time in terms of the advancements in technology and treatment and things like that, and early detection. It's not going away, but we're getting better at dealing with it at the very least.
I want to say that screening is very important, as you mentioned, but also self-examination is very important. That's how I found my lump.
Yes.
My mom taught us to do self-examinations every month, and I was doing that, and that's when I found my lump.
Wow.
In my case, I was doing self-examination too and noticed changes. And I know they say, oh, not that many are caught that way, but there are two ladies sitting here, and that's how.
Very important. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's, we want everyone to catch it early. We want everyone to be able to, they say if you catch it early now, it's something like a 99% survival rate. But I just wanted to make sure we had the conversation that even though you survive, what you have to go through to get there is still daunting and taxing.
It's daunting. But, I was thinking about something a little earlier while we were all talking, and it's like there's so many aspects of this that are so grim, but it is kind of a club. It is a sorority. It is a sisterhood. And there's humor in that, too. And there's beauty and there's strength. And you meet the most extraordinary people. And so I think about cancer, and if I could undo things in my life, yeah, I'd have gotten rid of this part of it, like without a hesitation. But having been through it, I'm going to hold on to the positives that came out of it. Because there are some, and I'm going to treasure those.
I just really appreciate and try to honor how unique I think something like breast cancer is, because I really don't think it's something that a lot of men can quite relate to, because it is so multi-layered. I'm just so in awe of all of you ladies, and just respect the hell out of you and wish you the best. And thanks for inspiring me in my own little journey. I really appreciate it. It means a lot.
Thank you for saying that, Patrick. So there's no way I can possibly mention all the people that I know, people that I love. I'm sorry. What you've all been through. And the strength of a woman is so apparent when you have breast cancer, and what we try and protect people, our children, our family, our friends.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for the passion. For you not to even have gone through any of this is so remarkable to me. You haven't even gone through any of it. Is so amazing. I'm so grateful and thankful for that.
Thank you for saying that, but I just can't thank you enough for coming here and sharing what you went through, and I have nothing but respect for everything you've been through and for all people that I love too. I want a real hug. Patrick, I don't think we can convey enough to everyone what we all felt like at the end of this recording, talking to Tamara and Melanie, and the tears and just what an emotional conversation it was.
Yeah, I'm glad that we did a two-parter on this one, because by the time Melanie and Tamara and you and I were done talking, I think we were just also emotionally spent that there's not much else you can put into one single episode.
Yeah, there were lots of hugs and appreciation for such an honest conversation. And while both of these women found the lumps in their breast through a self-examination, it's incredibly important that we're still doing our yearly screenings, because self-examination is just not always sufficient. So we want to make sure and remind you the importance of getting that yearly mammogram. And in part 2, we're going to hear from a different woman named Chelsea, who was diagnosed with breast cancer at a very young age when she had 3 young children and had to go through a pretty exhausting chemo treatment. And she's going to share what that was like. She's also going to be sitting down with her breast surgeon and her plastic surgeon, and we're going to be able to ask them some questions that I think might help others out there about to go through this journey. We want to thank Melanie and Tamara, so make sure to follow up with part 2. You don't want to miss that. Thanks for listening to This is Cancer, brought to you in partnership with Siteman Cancer Center at Barnes Jewish Hospital and Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, national leaders in cancer.
For more information on Siteman Cancer Center, go to siteman.wustl.edu. Be sure to leave a review and like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.